Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. I bet you're wondering, what am I doing outside? Well, it's just too pretty outside today. I don't want to be cooped up in my print room when I could just be outside. It's not even 72 degrees and breezy. Earlier I was flying some drones in my little backyard, just testing batteries and such. And I decided to do a couple of videos. The first one is going to be about just a very, very common subject, and one that I have not spoke about for quite a while, the P800 and the inability for it to use third-party products like we're used to using, meaning that when they reach empty, you can then reset the chips. Very simple. That's how everything else works. Everything else that is not locked, that is. And Epson has done a really good job in doing that to our P800s that are zoned for North American users. The question arose because somebody from another country wanted to know whether they can just go ahead and buy one from there, take it back to their country, and will it be able to then use third-party inks. Now, that I cannot answer because I have no clue what Epson has been doing behind our backs. It could be that new printers being sold now have upgraded firmwares, and those firmwares may not allow you to use third-party products. I really haven't heard word from anyone, any of the major sellers out there, and even the Chinese companies that advertise on Alibaba and AliExpress. Really nothing new. The only thing I know of that works for us users here in the US is this. Let me orient this the right way. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this and wonder what the heck am I showing you. It is a circuit board, basically. It's about a 3.5 by 5 circuit board, and it has built into the matrix of the board itself 9 chips, okay? And these chips correspond to the 9 colors. If you notice right here, there is a little power plug right there. That power plug allows you to plug in a special little cord that they give you, and that allows you to then, with the push of a button, reset all of the colors back to full, only when one of those 9 colors is declared empty. And the way it does that, it just says, hey, I no longer recognize your magenta cartridge. Press that button. All of the other cartridges are brought up to full, as well as the one that was declared empty. That's how it works. Now, overseas, let's talk about that. People overseas, so far I haven't heard from any of the UK companies that have been selling refillable cartridges. Why is this so weird? What is going on? Well, each chip for each color, specific color, let's just choose yellow. So the tens of thousands of chips that were made for the yellow cartridge for the P800 have not only the coding to show what levels they're at, but also a very specific number, an ID code that tells the printer, hey, this is so-and-so and I'm yellow. There's no one else like me anywhere in the world. So if I try to reset myself, you will see me as the same entity, and you need to then reject me, no matter what level I actually display. And that's how it works. So it needs to see a different ID code, okay? So what they have done here is to embed in each chip 30 different codes for yellow, for vivid magenta, for light magenta, and so on. So then every time you reset, you're actually preloading the next set of 9 ID code numbers. And so then the printer thinks it's receiving a new set of cartridges. Basically, that's what it thinks. But instead, it is the same set of cartridges. And I'm using refillables right now. They worked one time because Why? Very simple. Because those numbers on those cartridges, oh, they're all identical. Okay, about 500,000 of these sets were made, 500,000 sets of chips, all of them with the same ID code number. They had no clue that Epson was going to do this, so they expected it to behave just like previous types of resettable chips, where the printer doesn't care whether it sees the same ID color number or not. So that is what's happening. So for the USA, yeah, this works. The only catch is nearly $400, about $395, and I don't know whether these are going to go down in price um, or not. So, not much of an option. In Europe, yeah, you should be able to still use your refillable cartridges. Again, they're all identical. Every one of them, no matter who you buy them from, they're all identical. So, in those cases, the non-USA or non-North America actually zone P800s simply don't care. In their firmware, it is embedded that you're not going to check for a different ID number, whereas our printers do require a different ID number every time. Nice and breezy today. It's wonderful out here. So, what can you do? Not much. Not much other than use OEM at $60 a cartridge. So, for me, it is not a problem at this point. I was given a board by inkowl.com. They provided me with the first board. There goes a train. And I installed it and it did not work. I returned it. They sent me a second one. Remember, this is $400 a pop. That one worked almost. They sent me yet a third unit. I installed it and that worked. Now, what is it that you are doing? You are literally severing the communication pathway between the chip readers in your ink delivery system. In other words, where you insert your cartridges, there is a chip reader that contacts the pins on your chip. Not the pins, but the contacts. It has pins that contacts those chips, and then it reads them. So what I had to do was to disconnect all of the cables and then connect those cables to this board. So this becomes basically the place where you would have inserted your cartridges, except it's just a board with those chips literally physically embedded in them. So yeah, very ingenious that the Chinese came up with this. I don't know where they got those chip codes from, but possibly they just purchased, 30 sets of cartridges, and then after that they can sell them. Because again, some other printer has not seen those ID code numbers. So simply I could use mine and then possibly give it to someone else and they can use it. But the question lies whether every time you reset, every time you load a second set of ID code numbers, is the previous ID code number rendered inactive or unusable? That is a question we do not know. So anyway, but back to the installation, it was a little daunting if you don't know what to do. It's a little bit, scary. You have to disconnect the back panel. You have to remove the motherboard, not fully, but just extend it out after you detach it. So unscrew it, that is. And then disconnect very carefully those cables. You have to make sure you don't make a mistake. You really cannot put them in the wrong direction. They only fit one way. So again, even I could do that, so I assume most of you will be able to handle that. But then again, $400 for one of these. So the question arises, if you're just going to go ahead and print for money, in other words, you're producing prints for sale, then I wouldn't even consider this. I wouldn't even consider refilling, because really there's no way to do that effectively in the US unless you buy one of these types of so-called chip decoder boards. Really, really crazy. Europeans and people in other countries, I think they're okay. But they're still going to have to use OEM if they're going to be selling them, because again, third-party inks are not really up to the quality of these particular inks. The P800 OEM inks are really, really fabulous. So anyway, that is it. In the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about some other subject. one that I just discovered a little while ago. It has to do with the Breathing Color Riverstone Satin Rag paper. And remember, I explained that one side is printable, one side is not supposed to be printable, but you can actually print on both sides. It's just that during the coating process, the rear, or would have been the back, and they do the coating, the double coating, to maintain stability on the paper. It is very, very flat. And so I thought, well, what's the problem with printing on both sides anyway, since you can? Well, the official rear or back side has a scuff mark, and that occurs when they run it through the coating machine the second time to coat the top real printable surface. Spraying gets rid of it, but I thought, hey, what about Chroma Optimizer in something like the Pro 1000? That I'm going to show you in the next video. So again, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Happy printing, everybody. If your weather is really beautiful today, get on outside and forget about printing for a while. That's what I'm doing right now. That's why I decided to do this video. So otherwise, I'd be in there probably producing prints. So happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.